In the quiet serenity of a lush Californian estate, where the golden light filters through towering oak trees and the air is filled with the hum of a carefree life, Buck lived as a king. Buck was no ordinary dog. He was a powerful St. Bernard Scotch Collie mix, loved and pampered by his master, Judge Miller. He roamed the sprawling grounds with the freedom of a creature that had never known hardship. His days filled with games, abundant food, and the gentle affection of a family that adored him. But Buck's world, so warm and predictable, was about to be turned upside down in a way he could never have imagined. The turn of events begins with whispers, whispers of gold, shimmering and elusive, hidden deep in the quiet serenity of a lush Californian estate where the golden light filters through towering oak trees and the air is filled with the hum of a carefree life. Buck lived as a king. Buck was no ordinary dog. He was a powerful St. Bernard Scotch Collie mix, loved and pampered by his master, Judge Miller. He roamed the sprawling grounds with the freedom of a creature that had never known hardship, his days filled with games, abundant food, and the gentle affection of a family that adored him. But Buck's world, so warm and predictable, was about to be turned upside down in a way he could never have imagined. The turn of events begins with whispers, whispers of gold, shimmering and elusive, hidden deep in the Klondike region of Canada. The gold rush had ignited a feverish craze, drawing men from all corners of the world to the icy wilderness, each with dreams of striking it rich. But the unforgiving terrain required a unique kind of strength and resilience, and large, powerful dogs like Buck became highly sought after to pull sleds through the snow. For Buck, this distant clamor of human ambition would soon disrupt his tranquil life. One fateful evening, Buck's trust was betrayed by someone close to the family, a greedy gardener who saw an opportunity to profit from the sudden demand for sled dogs. The man lured Buck away under the cover of darkness, his eyes gleaming with the promise of easy money. Buck, oblivious to the danger, followed willingly, his loyalty to humans unshaken. Before he knew it, he was sold into a harsh and unfamiliar world, his regal life exchanged for chains and rough handling. From the sunny, temperate lands of California, Buck was thrust into the cold, chaotic streets of Seattle. Here, he encountered cruelty for the first time. Shipped off to the north, Buck was subjected to harsh treatment by strangers who saw him not as a beloved pet, but as a tool for survival. The gentle dog who had once lived like royalty found himself locked in a cage, surrounded by the barks and howls of other dogs, all equally terrified and confused. But Buck was no ordinary dog, and beneath his domesticated surface lay the instincts of his wild ancestors. As he endured harsh beatings and learned the unforgiving ways of his new reality, something ancient and primal stirred within him. It was a call, a distant echo of the untamed wilderness that began to awaken in his heart. Buck was no longer the pampered dog of Judge Miller's estate. He was beginning to transform, adapting to the brutal rules of survival in this new and hostile world. The pivotal moment came when Buck was sold to Perrault and Francois, two French-Canadian mail couriers navigating the treacherous terrain of the Yukon. These men, unlike his previous handlers, treated the dogs with a certain level of respect. Under their guidance, Buck was introduced to the life of a sled dog, a grueling existence that demanded strength, endurance, and submission to the pack's hierarchy. It was here that Buck met Spitz, the pack's lead dog, a cunning and ruthless creature who immediately saw Buck as a threat. The rivalry between Buck and Spitz was fierce, their every interaction charged with tension. Buck, though new to this life, quickly proved himself to be both strong and intelligent. He learned the ways of the sled, the commands of the drivers, and the unspoken rules of the pack. Day by day, he grew tougher, his muscles hardening, his senses sharpening. And all the while, the call of the wild grew louder, a persistent tug at the edges of his consciousness. As Buck adapted to his new life, the harsh realities of the wilderness became ever clearer. The icy winds bit at his fur, the relentless snow covered the land in a suffocating white blanket, and food was scarce. Yet, amidst the suffering, Buck began to feel alive in a way he never had before. This new world, though brutal, offered freedom and a sense of purpose. It awakened something deep within him, a connection to the primal forces of nature that he had never known existed. The conflict between Buck and Spitz reached its climax in a brutal confrontation under the cold light of the northern stars. The pack, weary and wary, gathered to witness the fight, their breath misting in the frosty air. Buck, now a force to be reckoned with, challenged Spitz's dominance with a ferocity that surprised even himself. Their battle was savage and unrelenting, a clash of wills that left one victor standing. Buck emerged triumphant, his strength and determination earning him the role of lead dog. With Buck at the helm, the sled team became more efficient than ever. He led them through the frozen wilderness with an unyielding spirit, his instincts guiding him through treacherous terrain. Yet, even as he thrived in this new role, the call of the wild continued to grow stronger, pulling at his heartstrings like a distant melody. Buck's transformation was far from complete, and his journey into the untamed wilderness had only just begun. Just as Buck seemed to have found his place, another twist of fate awaited him. Perrault and Francois, despite their affection for the dogs, were forced to sell the team due to the demands of the gold rush. Buck and his companions were handed over to new owners, a group ill-prepared for the rigors of the trail. These inexperienced adventurers pushed the dogs to their limits, their lack of knowledge and care leading to disaster. Through it all, Buck's resolve remained unbroken. He became the embodiment of survival, his resilience inspiring those around him. But as the hardships mounted and the line between life and death blurred, Buck began to sense that his destiny lay beyond the world of humans. The call of the wild grew louder, more insistent, and Buck knew that the answers he sought lay deep within the untamed wilderness. It was during one of these arduous journeys that Buck encountered John Thornton, a kind and compassionate man who saved him from the brink of death. Under Thornton's care, Buck experienced love and loyalty once more, a bond that reignited his connection to humanity. Yet, even in this newfound peace, the call of the wild remained, a haunting echo that refused to be silenced. As Buck's story unfolds, the line between his domesticated past and his primal future becomes increasingly blurred. What will he choose? A life of comfort and companionship with Thornton, or the untamed freedom of the wild? The journey of the call of the wild is far from over, and Buck's ultimate fate hangs in the balance, teetering between two worlds that both demand his allegiance. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into this gripping tale of survival, transformation, and the enduring bond between man and beast. As the snow-covered wilderness stretched endlessly before him, Buck felt the pull of two worlds growing stronger. On one side was John Thornton, the man who had saved him, nurtured him back to health, and shown him a kind of love Buck had never known. Thornton's presence was a comforting anchor in a world that had otherwise been harsh and unforgiving. On the other side, the call of the wild grew louder and more insistent, stirring something ancient and primal within Buck's heart. It wasn't just a sound or a feeling. It was an undeniable force calling him to be free, to leave behind the life of domestication and return to the untamed wilderness where his ancestors once roamed. Under Thornton's care, Buck flourished. He became stronger, more confident, and deeply loyal to the man who had given him a second chance. Together, they forged a bond that transcended words, built on trust, mutual respect, and an unspoken understanding. Thornton treated Buck as an equal, not just as a dog, but as a companion and a friend. They traveled together, exploring the untouched beauty of the Yukon, braving challenges side by side. For a time, it seemed as though Buck might have found his place in the world, a life filled with adventure, love, and purpose. But the call of the wild was relentless. At night, as the campfire crackled and the stars illuminated the vast sky, Buck would hear it. A distant howl carried on the wind. It awakened memories he didn't know he had, instincts buried deep within him. He began to wander farther from the camp, exploring the wilderness on his own. Each journey brought him closer to the wild, where he encountered wolves, hunted for his own food, and tested his strength against nature's challenges. These moments felt like glimpses into a life he was destined to live, a life free from the constraints of human expectations. Thornton noticed the change in Buck. He saw the restlessness in his companion's eyes, the way Buck would disappear for hours, sometimes days, only to return with a renewed energy. Thornton understood that Buck's heart was torn between his loyalty to the man who had saved him and the undeniable pull of the wild. Though it pained him, Thornton never tried to hold Buck back. He loved Buck enough to let him follow his instincts, knowing that true freedom was what his companion needed most. The turning point came during one of their expeditions. Thornton and his small group had ventured deep into the wilderness, searching for a rumored gold-rich valley. The journey was perilous, filled with treacherous terrain and harsh weather. Yet they pressed on, driven by hope and determination. Buck, as always, remained by Thornton's side, protecting him from danger and offering unwavering support. One fateful evening, while Thornton and his team were setting up camp near a river, Buck heard the howls again. Closer this time, more urgent. He followed the sound into the woods and came face to face with a pack of wolves. At first, there was tension, the wolves wary of this powerful newcomer. But as Buck stood his ground, something shifted. The leader of the pack approached him, their eyes meeting in a silent understanding. It was as though the wolves recognized Buck as one of their own, a kindred spirit who had found his way back to them. Buck returned to the camp that night, his mind racing. The encounter with the wolves had awakened a sense of belonging he had never felt before. The call of the wild was no longer just a sound. It was a promise of a life that was entirely his own, untamed and free. Yet, even as he felt this pull, he couldn't abandon Thornton. The man had given him everything, and Buck's loyalty ran deep. The final decision came unexpectedly. One day, while Buck was away exploring, disaster struck. Thornton's camp was attacked by a group of gold-hungry men who wanted to steal their supplies and claim their findings. Thornton fought bravely, but the odds were against him. When Buck returned, he found the camp in ruins, the men gone, and Thornton's lifeless body lying in the snow. The sight shattered Buck. He let out a mournful howl that echoed through the forest, a sound filled with grief and loss. For days, Buck stayed near Thornton's body, refusing to leave. He guarded his fallen friend, his heart heavy with sorrow. But the wilderness, ever unyielding, reminded Buck that life must go on. The wolves returned, their howls beckoning him. This time, Buck didn't resist. With one last look at the place where Thornton had given him so much love and purpose, Buck turned and followed the pack into the wild. In the years that followed, Buck became a legend among the wolves. He rose to lead the pack, his strength and intelligence making him a formidable figure in the wilderness. Stories of a great wolf dog who could outsmart hunters and protect his pack spread among the people of the Yukon. Yet, despite his new life, Buck never forgot Thornton. On quiet nights beneath the glow of the moon, Buck would return to the site where Thornton had fallen, a silent tribute to the man who had meant so much to him. Buck's journey was one of transformation, a testament to the resilience of the spirit and the power of instinct. From a pampered pet to a fierce leader of the wild, Buck's story captured the essence of survival, loyalty, and the unbreakable connection between man and nature.